What's going on, guys and girls? My name is Rock, and in today's episode I'm going to be doing something very different today. So in today's video I'm going to be doing a series called Lore Explained, the series where I break down and explain the numerous characters and pretty much everything that interests me in video games that I know on a personal level. So in today's first episode, I'm going to be analysing the character from Infamous Second Son, the protagonist specifically, and that is Delsin Rowe. So without further ado, let's dive into his story. Delsin Rowe is the central protagonist of Infamous Second Son and his successor the Cole McGrath. Delsin is the second playable protagonist in the Infamous series overall, following Cole and later preceding Abigail Walker, who is the protagonist for Infamous First Light. After living what could be considered a normal life as a graffiti artist and a local delinquent of the Akomish reservation, Delsin discovers that he is a conduit after grabbing a Department of Unified Protection, or DP for short, captive named Hank in order to save his older brother Reggie. This action activates Delsin's respective powers, and he quickly begins to realize that he has the unique ability to absorb any other conduit's powers after touching them. With his newfound arsenal, he travels with his older brother to Seattle in order to dismantle the DP's operations and acquire its director's power of concrete so he can heal his fellow Akomish members from death. Delsin is a 24-year-old Native American from the Akomish tribe, believing that he is destined for greatness. Delsin's occupation is a street artist, and his uncontainable penchant for free expression sets the perfect background for his standoff with the DP. Delsin has a rebellious attitude and favors anti-authoritarian street art. Unfortunately, Delsin's tendency to tag buildings and structures with graffiti constantly irritates and embarrasses his older brother Reggie Rowe, who is forced to keep arresting him over and over and over again. And although it is unknown if Delsin had spent time in prison, it is also implied that Delsin and Reggie's parents are deceased, but their fates are unknown. After being confronted by his brother Reggie over vandalizing the latter's Congrats New Sheriff billboard, the brothers witness the crash of a military truck transporting a trio of conduits. In order, it is Henry Daughtry, Abigail Walker, and finally Eugene Sims. While Abigail and Eugene quickly get away, Delsin attempts to help Hank out of some rubble, and for his troubles becomes a hostage in the resulting standoff with Reggie. During the struggle, Delsin accidentally absorbs Hank's powers and falls unconscious, and after coming to his senses, he finds the area around him in shambles, discovering his newfound power in the process. A frightened but determined Delsin manages to reach and save his brother, although Reggie tells him not to use his new tricks. Delsin uses them anyway to chase Hank into the nearby building fish cannery, attempting to save Betty, who is trapped in the building with him. Armed with nothing but a chain and his underdeveloped smoke powers, Delsin chases Hank into the DEP's custody. Unfortunately, the DEP's leader, Brooke Augustine, uses her concrete powers to brutally interrogate Delsin, and threatens to move on to the rest of the tribe if Delsin doesn't tell her what he is hiding. Delsin confesses to being a conduit, but Augustine doesn't believe him, as he claims he caught the conduit bug from Hank, which isn't possible. She knocks him out cold and continues interrogating the rest of the tribe, which results in the tribe being brutally interrogated and hurt as well. When Delsin finally wakes up 1 week later, he learns from Betty that the rest of the tribe were injured by Augustine's cement daggers. Attempting to learn what really happened between Hank and Delsin, he learns from Reggie that the Akomish are all dying, and that the only way to save them is to use Augustine's concrete power to remove the daggers. Realizing from his encounter with Hank that he can absorb other conduits' powers, Delsin convinces his brother to take him to Seattle, where Augustine's forces have chased down the other two conduits and absorbed her powers to undo what she did. Arriving in Seattle, Delsin soon learns that the DEP have effectively taken over the city, and their ranks are bolstered by forced conduits, lesser conduits who wield a small portion of Augustine's powers, and although he tries, he can't absorb the weaker powers, and finds out he must take him from prime conduits. A couple of days later, the brothers learn of a conduit serial killer wielding neon powers and decide to hunt her down, both to stop her killing spree and absorb her powers to help with the final confrontation of Augustine. Investigating the murders, the brothers discover the victims are all drug dealers instead of random people, as the media have made the rest of the city believe. They soon learn that the conduit is a girl named Abigail Walker, one of the escapees, as she is seeking to avenge her brother's death at the hands of the drug dealers which killed him. Delsin chases Abigail down and defeats her, absorbing her neon powers in the process. Delsin convinces Reggie to let Abigail work with them to both dismantle the DP's and the dealers' operations. After learning that Augustine is directing the bulk of her force into the Lantern District, Delsin makes his way across the ruined bridge where he confronts her and she forces him to use his neon powers to fight her higher-ranked thugs. Delsin makes short work of them, and after defeating the thugs, Delsin is captured by Augustine and nearly taken into custody, but he was rescued by an unknown creature who drops him off the Lantern District. Once there, Delsin is contacted by a fan of his named Eugene, who directs his attention to the DEP convoy carrying civilians suspected of all being conduits. In the process of stopping the convoy, Delsin is knocked out for several hours, and soon learns that the suspects have fled into the city, where they are being rounded up by angel-like creatures. Reggie disguises himself as a suspected conduit and is swooped up by an angel, taking the bait for himself. Once this is happening, using the GPS of Reggie's cell phone, Delsin locates the angel's hideout, even when Eugene himself desperately warns him not to go there. Delsin explores the hideout anyway, and learns that rather than being kidnapped, the victims are being helped out of their restraints and released into the city, being sucked into a video game world. Delsin is confronted by He Who Dwells, and after a brutal lengthy fight, defeats the giant angel, who is revealed to be Eugene, Delsin's fan, who led him to the convoy. Delsin absorbs his powers and talks with Reggie about letting Eugene go, pointing out that he was rescuing the people the DEP took and not hurting them. Delsin convinces Eugene to help him defeat both the DEP and the local gangs, who are rounding up the local conduits to sell them back to the DEP. Later on, Delsin is surprised to hear his allies question him about a rampage he was on downtown. He soon realizes that it wasn't him, but the other smoke conduit named Hank, who escaped from DEP custody. After chasing Hank down again, Delsin convinces him to help him against the DEP. Hank informs him that his fellow conduit allies, Eugene and Abigail, are both in DEP custody and in the makeshift DEP base at an island off the coast of Seattle. The brothers and Hank infiltrate the island, but Delsin is soon lured into a trap by Hank, who is revealed to be the DEP's ally all along, and because of Hank, Delsin and Reggie are beaten and nearly captured by Augustine, who attempts to encase them both in concrete, while they're dangling off the edge of the base. Reggie sacrifices himself to prevent Delsin from being captured, prompting a fight between Augustine and an enraged Delsin. After the fight, Augustine collapses the island and Delsin washes ashore, and proceeds to hunt down Hank, who is now on the run from both of his former allies. During the chase, Hank explains and later proves that the DEP had his daughter hostage, prompting Delsin to reluctantly spare Hank's life on the condition that he never sees him again. Delsin meets up with his allies, and together they agree that it's time to put an end to Augustine's plans. Using the information with which Hank provided Delsin, he is able to create a gap in the Channel 6 news station, which has been recently converted into a DEP headquarters, and together with Eugene and Abigail, the trio assault the building, making their way through the outside of the building and defeating the DEP soldiers. Finally, Delsin confronts Augustine in the building's newsroom. There, Delsin states that he knows that Augustine had set up the conduit's escape to keep the DEP in existence. Augustine then explains her true motives. She has been capturing but never killing conduits to prevent them from being killed by rational civilians like they were in the pre-DEP bloodbaths years ago. To this end, Augustine attempts to convince Delsin to help her regain the public's trust and help her save more conduits around the globe. However, Delsin doesn't care about Augustine's excuses and decides to take her down and expose her without fully developing his newest powers. Delsin is almost beaten by Augustine, who has nearly 7 years of experience with hers. Thankfully, Eugene is able to throw several core relays into the room, with which Delsin is able to become powerful enough to slowly wear down Augustine's monster form and capture her. As Augustine watches him use her own power against her, Delsin quotes her, "Yeah, I'm told that hurts." In the canon ending, with Augustine captured, Delsin is able to expose the DEP's operations to the world. As Augustine is hauled away by authorities, the crowds, they cheer, knowing that they're finally free. Delsin implicitly notes the irony of a government figure being taken down by a gamer, Eugene, an ex-junkie, Fetch, and a small-town delinquent, Delsin. Delsin's actions set off a second age, where conduits and humans can coexist. Delsin also comments that the conduits of Kern and K were also free to live as they see fit, implying that Delsin went to Kern and K to free them, or some of them were free at least through unknown reasons. That being said, Delsin himself had some unfinished business to attend to. Now that he'd gotten the power he needed, he returned home to heal his people of the injuries Augustine inflicted upon them, and after curing the tribe, Delsin celebrates his brother's life by giving him a graffiti memorial atop the fish cannery. When finished, he takes one good look and almost with tears in his eyes, says, "I love you, brother, and I'm sure gonna miss you." With that, he sets his paint can down and walks away. In the non-canon ending, however, with Augustine captured, Delsin drags her all the way up to the roof and throws her off a very great height to her death. Avenging Reggie, he, Abigail, and Eugene take over the city of Seattle with an iron fist, and Delsin plans to absorb all of the captured conduits in Curtin K, but before doing that, he heads back to the Longhouse to save the tribe. While at the Longhouse, Betty confronts him, condemning him for becoming evil and wreaking havoc throughout Seattle. She tells him that he has disgraced his people, his ancestors, and the memory of his brother, and that he is akomish no longer. In response, Delsin asks her if she had forgotten that without his power, she and the rest of the tribe would die, to which Betty responds that they haven't forgotten and would never forget, before she slams the door on the evil Delsin. Delsin, feeling emotional pain out of this, then out of anger, performs an orbital drop, presumably killing all wounded akomish inside, including Betty, and the destruction of the Longhouse that he is supposed to live in. Delsin's appearance consists of a denim jeans, a red beanie, a denim vest, a hoodie, and a red flannel shirt. While in a neutral karmic state, his hoodie is grey and his vest and jeans are dark denim blue. If Delsin gains good karma, his hoodie will go from black to white and his jeans will go from dark denim to brighter denim blue. His face has a normal healthy look, but if Delsin gains evil karma, his hoodie will go from black to red and his jeans will go from dark denim to completely black. Also, he has a sickly appearance, such as black soot under his eyes and down his neck and red spots on his face. With this, Delsin looks sinister and appears to be lacking sleep. But his most distinguishable feature in regards to his physical appearance is the symbol on his vest, which also changes form in accordance to with his current karma he is steering towards. Delsin discovers his powers when he absorbs the abilities of Hank, a prisoner on the DEP carrier, taking on smoke manipulation. Later he discovers that he possesses the unique ability to mimic the other powers of other conduits. His powers and abilities are listed in the graph down below, as I'll be reading them from below. Power absorption. Delsin has the natural ability to absorb the abilities of other conduits, which he discovers after encountering a crashed conduit transport vehicle. This gives him the potential to be one of the most versatile conduits ever in existence, due to the fact that he can have multiple powers at any point and can always absorb more. It is unknown if he has a limit, but in the game it appears that he doesn't have a limit. Only time will tell though. Telepathic Perception. Delsin, along with his ability to take the powers of others, also has the ability through touch to look at another person's past and the emotions they experience to rapidly gain information of their lives. Although it's not confirmed, it appears that this power can be used on non-conduits because he has shown no signs of it when touching any non-conduits, such as his brother. This power is not to be confused with telepathy, as he is not reading their minds, but rather receiving information from their past. It is also interesting to note that the memories that Delsin sees always involve in some way of when and how the conduits got their powers. Smoke manipulation. Delsin's initial power seems to be based on smoke and ember, having taken it from Hank, the conduit he helped survive. He suddenly gains the capacity to shoot smoke out of his hands, or even turn into smoke himself and quickly travel around the city through the use of air ducts. He can also deploy smoke grenades, which after explosion, cover affected enemies in smoke and incapacitate them. Delsin can use the chain on his arm as a whip, seemingly imbuing it with burning ash, similarly to how the amp was wrought in Cole's electricity. Additionally, he can make use of his smoke dash ability for heightened motion and produce lateral propulsion for a short while via smoke thrusters. His smoke dash can also be used offensively as he dashes through an enemy and rematerializes behind them, choke slamming them to the ground in the process. Delsin also replenishes his power by absorbing smoke from chimneys, cars, and DP tear gas canisters. He can use his special smoke karma bomb ability called Orbital Drop. Delsin materializes into 3 balls of smoke which propel upwards into the sky, which, upon reaching a specific height, Delsin rematerializes and rapidly falls down, exploding the smoke and embers upon contact with the surface, imbuing everyone with smoke, incapacitating them or obliterating them in the blast in the process. Neon Manipulation. Later on in the game, Delsin absorbs from Abigail Walker the ability to control neon. With it, he is shown to have powers similar to his smoke dispersal abilities, yet instead it dissolves and reforms from gaseous energy-based semblance. He can discharge neon stream lasers from his hands, which also blow up upon contact to deal more damage to enemies than the smoke projectile as well, and stimulate a light dash, which when used dissolves him into neon itself and enables him to sprint up or around walls and literally run on air from a starting jump for brief periods of time. Delsin's chain can also be covered in neon and made rigid, allowing it to be used in a sword-like fashion akin to a lightsaber. He can also use neon to charge directly into enemies, knocking them over, similar to a smoke choke slam. He also has neon grenades, which suspend enemies in air for a short period of time. Aiming while using the neon power set utilizes a mode similar to precision. Time slows down and highlights certain weak points around specific enemy body parts. Weak points are karma specific. Shoots an enemy in the head to cause them to be obliterated and explode into a puff of red neon and receive evil karma, or shoot them in the shins to restrain the enemy to receive good karma. He also has some kind of propulsion ability honed by a force field situated at the lower legs, similar to Cole's static thrusters and Delsin's own smoke thrusters. He can replenish his neon reserves by absorbing it from the brightly lit neon signs situated around the city. With neon power active, Delsin can use his special neon karma bomb called Radiant Sweep, in which he concentrates neon energy into himself and then bursts, shooting beams in all directions, producing a massive explosion, either incapacitating his enemies or obliterating them in correspondence with his karma. Video Manipulation. Delsin then gains the ability of video by absorbing a conduit named Eugene Sims. Delsin can drain this power from television monitors to computer screens on satellite dishes. When using video, Delsin can shoot out a stream of pixelated projectiles in a rapid-fire motion, similar to Cole's Bolt Stream and a submachine gun. He also gains the ability to transform himself into faint pixels, becoming visible to enemies for a certain time period. When using melee attacks, Delsin doesn't seem to use his chain. Instead, depending on his karma level, he creates a digital sword, good, or digital claws, evil, to hack and slash his enemies. Furthermore, when dashing, he can create wings for himself to fly over obstacles and directly up walls. Dashing into satellite dishes will cause him to launch higher up in the air. Delsin can also mark and summon 3 bloodthirsty blades. When the blades are summoned, they then seek out the target that has been marked. With video power active, Delsin can use his special video karma bomb called Hellfire Swarm, in which he summons both angels and demons from the game Heaven's Hellfire to swoop down and carpet bomb enemies. When over, the karma bomb will either subdue or obliterate enemies, depending on Delsin's decisions. Concrete Manipulation. The last power Delsin gets, which is absorbed from Brooke Augustine, gaining her unique ability to manipulate concrete. Delsin can drain this power from any downed members of the DEP he comes across. What also makes concrete separate itself from the other powers is that while using it, Delsin automatically takes less damage from enemy fire. While using the power, he can shoot out a shrapnel of concrete in a burst fire manner. Delsin can also fire off slabs of concrete, very similar to one of Augustine's attacks and those used by the weaponless DEP soldiers. Like video, Delsin doesn't seem to use the chain either when using concrete. Instead, Delsin smashes his hand on the ground, creating a miniature tremor that knocks enemies back. When dashing, Delsin is covered in concrete, wearing it like armor and making himself a living boulder. Delsin can also travel around using concrete thrusters similar to Cole's static thrusters, where stones are surrounded under him. Every time the thrusters are used, they initially lift him higher in the air, causing him to glide even further. Surprisingly, out of all the current power sets, smoke, neon, video, and concrete, concrete is the only one that doesn't have a karma bomb for some odd reason. This may be due to the karma bomb requiring another blast core relay, which he was unable to obtain. He can also use a miniature boost to push himself into the air, which leaves no trace of damage from the launching point. Unlike the DP Knight's ability, when used while climbing a building, Delsin will simply launch himself vertically up it. Superhuman Strength. Like all major conduits, Delsin possesses greater physical strength than a normal human. An example sees Delsin effortlessly pull his brother's arm off of Abigail Walker, which is impressive given that Reggie is a cop and he would have to be in good physical condition. He has also displayed being able to send others flying several feet through the air with his kicks, and was also able to effortlessly pull a chain link door off a cage with no effort. Superhuman Agility. Delsin also possesses incredible agility and grace, allowing him to effortlessly scale buildings and land on his feet from several stories. He is also shown to be able to easily balance himself on any surface, no matter how narrow, and run across it as though it was a large strip of road. Superhuman Stamina. Like other conduits, Delsin is able to exert himself for far longer periods of time. He is seemingly able to run for an endless period of time and is able to scale buildings without any hindrances or exhaustion. Despite this, Delsin is still capable of tiring, as it seems using his primary conduit can cause him and whomever he uses it on to pass out. Superhuman Durability. Delsin is far more resilient and enduring than a normal human being. He is able to fall from almost any height and land unharmed. He first discovers this when entering the fish cannery to find Betty and Hank, commenting that should have hurt. He has also been shown to be able to withstand numerous gunshots while only showing slight discomfort. Accelerated Healing Factor. Delsin has shown to be able to rapidly recover from sustained wounds and injuries throughout the game. Delsin is shown to be able to recover from any form of harm he receives, as long as the damage isn't fatal and he is not harmed again before he has a chance to recover. This is shown twice throughout the game. After Augustine tortures Delsin to the point of knocking him unconscious, he wakes up a week later to find the concrete shards in his legs gone, as if magic has bestowed upon him. And finally, when Delsin encounters the looters in the tunnel, they panic when they realize what he is, and one of them shoots Delsin twice, but it doesn't take long for him to get back up to his feet and pay them the favor. Miscellaneous. Parkour skills. Delsin is physically able to climb up any kind of buildings, having the same free running and parkour abilities as Cole. He is described as not being a very experienced climber, but if he sees something he can climb, there's nothing stopping him from trying. Sucker Punch's co-founder Chris Zimmerman has gone on record saying that Delsin can parkour two times faster than Cole, meaning that Delsin is fast, but Cole is more experienced in his practice. Spray paint skills. Throughout the progression of the game, Delsin has shown to be a competent spray painter. He paints on various walls and surfaces to mark his presence within Seattle and drive out the DOP in the good karma ending. He completely paints over the billboard of Reggie that he vandalized at the beginning of the game as a memorial to Reggie, complete with a portrait of the two brothers together. Weaknesses. Delsin's power absorption does come with a few drawbacks. Firstly, when he acquires a new power, he is unable to switch to his other powers until he develops his proficiency with said new power. Secondly, after absorbing an ability from another conduit, Delsin is temporarily knocked unconscious due to the amount of stress and strain it puts on Delsin. This is very similar to when Cole absorbs blast cores in Infamous 2, as after he fully absorbs one, it knocks him out for a while. Thirdly, Delsin cannot switch powers on a whim. He must switch powers by absorbing energy from different power sources. For example, if Delsin currently has smoke but wants to use neon, he must absorb neon to replace his smoke abilities. And for this same reason, he can't use multiple powers at once and must stick to using one at a time. Trivia: Delsin is voiced by Troy Baker, who provides the motion capture for the character. He bears a superficial resemblance to an early design for Cole called Talon. He also bears a resemblance to some of Cole's conceptual artwork from Infamous 2. Shortly after his first appearance, there was wide speculation on whether or not Delsin was Cole's brother or son. These rumors were later ruled out, as Delsin is not related to Cole. He is the first Infamous character to have his age confirmed as 24. This would make him 17 during the events of Infamous 2. Although Cole's age was stated to be 26 in Infamous 2, it was only in the Japanese version, making it non-canon and pointing out that his age was 27 during the game's events. The name Delsin is of Native American origin, which translates to "he is so." Delsin even stated to Eugene that his mother got the name from a Western movie. Delsin's nickname, the Smoker Guy, is a reference to Jesse Pinkman's nickname, the Smoking Dude, from Breaking Bad, which in itself is a reference to the Smoking Man from the X-Files. Delsin's arm tattoo was very popular to the point where a fan got the same tattoo in February of 2015. Delsin follows Cole in referencing Sly Cooper, as he has a button on his jacket bearing the Sly Cooper logo. Also, the ringtone on Delsin's phone is the Sly Cooper Thieves in Time menu theme. In a way, Delsin bears a resemblance to Peter Petrelli from the popular TV show Heroes. Peter is also revealed to be a mimic and at one point is regarded as the most powerful of all the specials. Delsin's smoke powers could be considered an offset of pyrokinesis. Chris Zimmerman stated in a podcast that it's smoke mixed with fire and ash to give it more impact. Delsin comes from the Akomish tribe, a fictional Native American tribe created by Sucker Punch. In Second Son's good ending, Delsin says his brother Reggie, as what Zeke said to Cole, "I love you, brother, and I'm sure gonna miss you." As shown during the evil ending, Delsin can potentially gain all powers from every conduit, meaning he can absorb powers without limit, which could theoretically make him the most versatile and albeit powerful conduit in existence. However, he would still be limited to using whatever powers he can absorb within his vicinity. The Seattle 138 tags on his jacket and beanie is a reference to the Misfits song We Are 138, according to Sucker Punch's Twitter. A loading screen tip indicates that Delsin only uses environmentally friendly paint in his artwork. And another loading screen tip indicates that Delsin used to climb trees and shear rocks back at Salmon Bay, so Seattle is just one big jungle gym to him. Delsin states that he always wanted to see the Space Needle, meaning that he's never visited Seattle before. Delsin's criminal record can be seen at the pause menu when Road Delsin is selected. Regardless of if you defeat Augustine's new DP trooper on the bridge with purely your smoke powers or used in neon sources, Delsin will still act as though he exposed his neon abilities. And that, my friends, is the first episode of Lore Explained. It was a long-ass read, and I sure had fun making it. Fun fact, I recorded this a lot of times, and I really hope that this final version of the read goes out okay. So, with this video coming to a close, I have to edit it and put it on YouTube. So if you enjoyed this video, please give this a thumbs up, and be sure to like and subscribe, and ring the bell so you'll never miss out on the new content I make. So with that out of the way, and without further ado, this is my first episode of Lore Explained, and I'll be sure to do more episodes in the future. Maybe it could be another Infamous game, or another game for other reasons, but anyhow, this is the video, and I hope it turns out okay. Catch you later, and peace out.